what qualifications do I need to get in the industry? Some people might have good backgrounds, and many people, Lauren, have great backgrounds, and they come to me and they say, you know what? I have a great background in science, or they might say I have a great background in healthcare, or they might say I'm motivated, I have a good degree, I'm young, I'm ready to get started, and I've been applying to these roles, but I'm not getting the interviews. I'm not really getting much traction. What are the qualifications you need, Lauren, to get in the industry? What's the industry looking for?
Well, I mean, I think this speaks to, your question at the heart is like, why is it so hard to get into the field? And we can kind of move into those qualifications and what those barriers are. But I mean, if you think about what we've talked about so far, of what we're doing in this industry, I mean, the importance of working with a human person and giving them a brand new intervention that we don't know if it's going to work. And we think it's going to be safe enough. Otherwise, the ethics committees would not allow us to test it in a human person. But we're still finding that data out. And so when you put yourself in the shoes of these potential employers, they're, of course, nervous when it comes to hiring someone new. There's the trust factor. Can I trust you with my patients? Even if you are behind the scenes, can I trust you to follow the regulations? Because it's a highly regulated field, of course, right? Can I trust you? And then, of course, we don't want to slow things down by hiring people who don't know what they're doing or won't get up to speed quickly enough, right? Those delays get passed on to the patients. The slower we move in clinical research, the more delays we experience in getting these interventions to the patients that need them most. And so when you put yourself in the place of those potential employers, I hope you can see that there are barriers, there are real barriers to welcoming someone new onto the team. Now, if we never hired anyone new into this field, the field would go extinct because we'd have nobody to run these studies. So who does get selected to come into the field to learn the ropes? And so that's kind of your question, I think, David, is what are those qualifications? So no matter where you go to work in this field, you have to be so highly organized, right? If you're the type of person where your closet is arranged by season and color and alphabetically, this might be the right place for you.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny, Lauren, because you're talking about what someone's closet looks like. And we had this one regional vice president for a site network, and she was in charge of the entire western region of the country, and they're running trials all over. And I asked her, and it was Jen, I said, Jen, what do you ask people when you're interviewing them? How do you know if they're the right person? And she asked that exact question. She said, what does your closet look like? And if you answer, oh my God, I'm so organized. I'm a little bit OCD because everything's organized by color. I got the shoes on the bottom. I got my hats on top, and I've got the long sleeves and the middle sleeves and the short. Like, when the people who got more excited about the organization and the detail were the people she knew were going to be great at this field. But Lauren, I also want to talk about this different language here. Like, what does that mean? It's a different language. People apply to jobs and they're like, oh, I think I'm qualified. I got a good background, education. I'm not getting the interviews. What is this different language?
Right. So in clinical research, it really is like speaking another language. In an interview, they might ask you, what's the time frame to process an SAE, and what are the communication channels to report it to the sponsor at IRB? Ooh, some jargon there. What does that mean? Right? I'm throwing out some acronyms here, and you have to be able to speak that language of clinical research. That allows the hiring managers to trust you, right? You're speaking the same language. If you're not speaking the same language, well, how can I know that you're going to do a good job here? Now, when it comes to that data collection, it's done in a very systematic way, and you have to demonstrate that you understand how to follow those protocols. You can collect data on your source per Alcoa C, that you can recruit participants according to the IE laid out in the protocol.
Okay, stop
I know
right
I'm
there.
getting super jargon heavy, and I don't mean to scare anyone away, because this stuff is not hard to learn, but you have to know it to be successful. And so, I know I'm getting very jargon heavy, but that's to demonstrate that you have to speak this language of clinical research to overcome that barrier to gain the trust of the people interviewing you.
And what's funny is the job descriptions talk about experience. They say, oh, we want someone with 2 years experience and 3 years of experience. But really what they mean is we want to hire someone who is comfortable with the language and can hit the ground running. No matter where you're hired in this field, your first 2 or 3 months is what we call onboarding, where you're learning the SOPs or the standard operating practices of that institution. They have different software systems. They have different payroll systems. They have different places where they keep things. And there's a lot of training and onboarding anywhere you go. And they want to make sure that the clinical research side, talking about the IRBs, reporting AEs and SAEs, and the IFC process, all of those you've got. And that is the language. That's really the training that you need.